All right, good morning, Dr. Lafferty and the rest of the class. Hope you're having a great week thus far. Today I'll be presenting on my management plan. I'm going to go ahead and start off with the physical environment. One of the key components of physical education is having a well-maintained and up-to-date and having up-to-date equipment within physical education. Um, most important part is our student safety, and so a well-maintained and environment is critical in that. What's great about physical education is that we're in a different environment. Our students are in a different environment every couple weeks, such as the track field, the gym, tennis court, swimming pool, and baseball fields. When looking and talking about the environment, I also like to look at the locker room. And so, what I'd like to put up in the future in locker rooms are calendars of our PE schedules, so students know what to expect coming up in the weeks, as well as information on team sports and events, and then also things on nutrition and health that students can refer to throughout the semester and throughout the year. Moving on to opening and closing routines. To start off, the class students will either sit in roll call or begin to warm up for the day's activity. Um, within physical education, we want to make sure that students are physically active for as long as possible. So having students warmed up by the time I get to the field or to the gym is very important. I like to always start off class by reviewing what we learned the previous day, as well as reactivating prior knowledge. Sometimes you'll have kids that forgot about a certain skill or certain strategy within a sport, and so just kind of reviewing and reactivating that prior knowledge is critical. Some of the things that I do currently and will continue to do are cool downs at the end of class. So on a long run day or an activity that requires a lot of running, I like to do a cool down stretch, and during that time, give students an opportunity to self-reflect with one another, to collaborate and talk about some of the mistakes that they made today or some of the things that they did well, and how can they improve on some of those skills or strategies that they learned. Moving on to rules and behavioral expectations. So these are all universal rules, but rules such as respect yourself, the teacher, and others. A huge rule for physical education is respecting the equipment. Equipment's not cheap, so I think that's a big and critical rule. Be prepared for class each day. When looking at PE, that means being suited up, making sure that you're suited out with the proper attire for physical education, paying attention, participating, and asking questions. Another big rule for physical education is no food or drink except water. Um, if we're in the gym and someone spilled something, that could bring a lot of ants and stuff like that. So that's a huge one. And just arriving to class on time is critical. We only, like I said earlier, we only have so much time to get things done and for students to get physically active. And so arriving to class on time is critical. A lot of these rules and behavioral expectations will be done verbally. They'll also be on the syllabus online for students to access through my website, and then as well as on the locker room walls. So students will be able to refer back to these rules and expectations throughout the year consistently. Moving on to classroom community, I like to, when I talk about this kind of area, I like to think about Zaretta Hammond and culturally inclusiveness. I think it's critical, and also, hopefully I pronounce this right, is Bronfenbrenner's ecological theory and the sense of belongingness. And so some of the ways you can kind of get students to get a sense of community is to encourage student collaboration and discourse, as well as practicing effective communication. I always do this every day, is greeting students individually. I try to make that a priority in every class so that students feel important, that they belong in the classroom. A big one, establishing rules together, and then just to teach students how to be active listeners. So making eye contact, not talking when they're talking. These are all critical components of creating a class that understands and respects one another. And then last but not least, consequences. So here are the kind of and I look back, refer to Skinner and his theory on positive reinforcers, negative reinforcers, consequences. And so here's kind of the breakdown that I have is first is, of course, a verbal warning. And then if it has to go on to a call home, detention, and then referral to assistant principal. I haven't had to do anything, had to do any of these besides verbal warning within my class, but I've set those. I think I was effective in making those rules and consequences understandable to my students. Um, and so I hope you guys enjoyed my presentation, and I hope you guys have a great week. Thank you.